everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm in a new spot because the home is a little busy and this was the only free spot to film. So welcome to a new background as you get a little tour of my apartment. But anyways, today I'm doing my book review on I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette Mccurdy, and I gave this book an easy 5 out of 5. My Booktuber Shoutout today goes out to a channel I recently stumbled across because I was looking at other Booktuber reviews on Clara and the Sun, which was a recent book I reviewed by Kazuo Ishiguro. And this YouTuber that I want to feature, her channel is Shell La Vie. I believe her name though is Michelle. I'll link her channel down below. She's just started her booktube pretty recently and I really enjoy her content. As I said before, I came across her channel because I was looking at other booktubers reviews of Clara and the Sun, as I really enjoyed that book and I wanted to see other people's reception of it. And she actually coincidentally also has recently posted a top 10 of 2022, and she also posted Jennette Mccurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. So if you want to check out Michelle's channel or Shell La Vie, I'll link it down below for your enjoyment. Before I get into my full book review, I always appreciate it if you like my content to please hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have read this memoir by Jennette Mccurdy, I'd love to hear what you thought down in the comments below. I also feel it feels more natural to talk when I'm standing. Normally I'm like sitting on my desk, so maybe I will change to filming standing up. I don't know, do you guys film standing up or sitting down? Because I think I prefer standing up because it feels more natural. Anyways, I want to say, as I always start my videos, the year and genre of this book. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette Mccurdy. So this book was published just last year in 2022. You've probably heard of it because I feel it's so popular in pop culture and in the booktube community just because of the title, because she's a former Nickelodeon star. And the genre of this book is considered nonfiction, specifically a memoir, which is my favorite type of genre. A bit about the author Jennette Mccurdy. So if you don't know who she is, I'm in my mid-30s. So basically I was a bit older to watch her stardom on Nickelodeon. However, I did grow up watching Nickelodeon and a lot of shows, but I just missed the iCarly phase. But I'm familiar with her and I've obviously seen her face here and there, especially because I also have like nieces and that kind of stuff. So Jennette Mccurdy is a Nickelodeon star. She starred in a very popular show called iCarly. Her character's name was Sam, and then she was on that show for a few years, and eventually she has a spin-off called Sam and Cat, where I believe Cat was played by Ariana Grande, and Ariana Grande's character Cat came from another show called Victorious. So Jennette Mccurdy is a childhood star that kind of acted from a very young age, all of her teens till her early 20s. And this book talks about how she became a star in Hollywood because her mom wanted her to be an actress. It talks about auditioning, it talks about her internal dialogue and what she felt about acting. It talks about all the juicy stuff you want to hear behind the scenes about Nickelodeon and everything. And yeah, so Jennette Mccurdy basically, she was a childhood star on Nickelodeon up in her early 20s, and then she kind of like faded away for a bit, and then she came back like last year. I believe right now she's 30 years old with this memoir and this tell-all, and it's just really juicy. Like I feel like for me, I am into pop culture, I am into celebrity gossip. However, even though I've never watched her show, I didn't grow up with Jennette Mccurdy, I found this book really good to read regardless. I kind of talked about what this book is about. So we start with learning about her childhood. We learn very quickly that her mom is like super narcissistic. I don't really want to get into details because I don't want you to just watch this video and not read the book. I want you to watch this video and do read the book because it's quite a quick read and it's just very eye-opening because I know, you know, like I grew up in a culture, I'm Chinese, where, you know, we don't really say I love you, and also like it's not out of ordinary to be like, for my mom to be like, oh, like you gain weight or you're a little fat and that kind of stuff, but it never to me was abusive. It's very part of the culture. At the end of the day, like, I know my mom loves me, but it's just so interesting to hear Jennette talk about her experience because her mom is so clearly abusive, but Jennette is still like cheering for her mom and just like she wants to please her mom. She wants to make her mom happy. Like she acts for her mom, and it's just like so heartwarming to see her undivided love for her mom, but also so heartbreaking because her mom is such an extreme narcissist. And it's not just like her mom I feel like exploiting her child, Jennette, to be a childhood star making money. There's like other things that happen in the book that are definitely effing abusive, and it's just really awful to see. And then later on, as the title of the book says, she says she's glad her mom dies, and then the second half of the book kind of talks about her recovering from that trauma and also her struggle within Nickelodeon and being a young childhood star and her self-image and her self-worth and always wanting to look young, scared of growing up because if she looks too young, if she looks too old, then maybe she wouldn't be like a coveted actress in the Nickelodeon family. She talks about how there was like abuse or exploitation within Nickelodeon from the producers and directors. And she's super respectful because she doesn't actually name the individuals. Although obviously I think if you watch Nickelodeon and a quick Google search, you know who exactly she's talking about. But I really respect that she gives this person the name of the creator of the show instead of saying the name. She also talks about like her relationships. She also grew up Mormon, and because her mom was so controlling, she never really got to develop or have healthy development of what romantic relationships look like. And like, you know, like we see not only is she exploited by her mom, by Nickelodeon and Hollywood, by her producers and directors and managers, but also being exploited as a younger female in the industry. She's exposed to obviously older men, and she talks about how she's mistreated and her self-worth, and it's just it's such a great book. And it kind of reminds me, if you ever read Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi, which I actually reviewed last year as well, especially when like Jennette talks about her eating disorder, I see a lot of parallels. And I personally never dealt with like diagnosed eating disorder or extreme cycles of it. I think I've just dealt with like someone growing up in the early 2000s, just having that media image of like very slim, low rise, like that type of era. So I think I had like mild eating disorder, but I feel like everyone in my age range did in the 2000s. But like hearing or reading Jennette talk about it, it's just very eye-opening. And I feel like if you're someone that has struggled with eating disorder, like she talks about it so candidly. She talks about her going to therapy, her going through cycles of recovery, and slipping, and it's totally okay. And I think this book is just also like almost like a self-help book for helping other people have their experiences seen if they've been a victim of abusive parents, abusive workplace, or just someone who has struggled with self-worth or eating disorders. It's just a great book. Now my next segment of my video that I usually do is common themes. I feel like I kind of touched about it because I've just like gone on a rant about everything this book is about that I really fucking effing enjoy. So things that I thought were common themes were that, you know, what your parents want for you isn't always in your best interest. And you see this all the time in Hollywood. Like right now I can think of like Britney Spears, Amanda Bynes, Shia LaBeouf. And I feel like money does wreck families. And I feel like a lot, if there's a child who truly wants to be an actor, I think it's great if a family is able to support the child to pursue that dream. But also like if the child becomes famous, it's so important for that family to be rock solid for that celebrity. Like I think like one successful story is like Billie Eilish. You know, she got famous really young, but she seems to be very well adjusted, has a good family, and I think that's really important. Obviously, I'm speaking from my perspective. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but yeah, like this book really talks about Jennette, and I can see the parallels with lots of other young actors that became famous really early on and not just being well adjusted. And then another common theme that leads into is the idea of how Hollywood is so pervasive. Like, you know, when I'm growing up in my reality, in my 12, 13, 14, up to 18, like I obviously did mistakes, I obviously messed up, but my life wasn't like blasted in paparazzi in the media to be overanalyzed. However, like every young child actor or every young Hollywood actor in their like late teens, early 20s gets totally analyzed and like blown up under a microscope, and it makes no sense because I think when you're young, you're supposed to make mistakes and it's okay. The most important thing is learning from them. But Hollywood and paparazzi and the media just judges people like it's crazy. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I love my celebrity gossip, but I definitely am very wary to judge like young celebrities because I am very aware that I used to be young and stupid. But again, like I said way earlier in this video, I am a product of the 2000s, and it's actually so fucked up when I think about how when I grew up, people were obsessed with like Britney Spears' virginity or Jessica Simpson's virginity and like chastity reigns. And it's just like, why do we share these intimate details about like young starlets? It makes no sense at all to me. And two other common themes I want to share, which I already touch on, is eating disorders and how growing up in a narcissistic parent environment, and also all this trauma that happens in your youth, in your younger years, how when you decide or recognize that you need professional help, if you choose to seek it. I really like that Jennette had this very honest telling of her experience, how it's so not linear. Progress is never linear. It's okay that you do well for months and have a slip back and all that kind of stuff. And I really admire her being honest, because I feel a lot of people always want to share just success stories, but Jennette did a beautiful job about sharing how she seeks for help. It works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes, and it's just really great. And since this memoir has been published, it's now been like half a year. I really hope she has the help that she needs, and I hope she has a community, and I hope after this book came out that she sees that she has helped so many other people out there that may be struggling through similar experiences. Things I did not enjoy about this book, I gave it a 5 out of 5, and to be honest, with memoirs, it's so hard for me to give it a review of stuff I don't like, just because it's their personal retelling, and who am I to judge them, right? And I thought her writing style was great. I really felt it was so easy to read, but of course I have to give feedback, because there's always room for constructive feedback. Is I appreciate it and I respect it that she didn't want to name and shame individuals in her life, but I feel like she should name and shame them just because it's such an easy Google search. Like, obviously she shouldn't cancel and destroy people's lives, but these people did shitty things and there are consequences, and I think I respect her for keeping them like anonymous, but was there a point? I don't know. Or maybe she just wanted to make it her story. She didn't want to make it about them, which I think is like fair enough. Things I did enjoy, I feel like I raved about this so much, so if you watch until this point, you already know all the things I enjoyed about this book, so I'm just gonna keep trekking ahead to my Goodreads rating. So I gave this book a 5 out of 5. On Goodreads though, this book got a very high average of 4.56 out of 5. My caveat, of course, is this book came out really recently, lots of publicity, it's also super juicy, so who knows, maybe after 10 years the ratings will go down. But I do want to say that this book has over 400,000 reviews, and there's less than 2% of reviews that are 1 or 2 stars. Most of the stars are 5, 4s, and there's actually very few 3 stars. So this book is a good read. As always, I'll start with the lukewarm 3-star reviews, which were the lower ones, because honestly there wasn't any or many 1 or 2 star reviews with comments in it. So people who gave it a lukewarm review said that they thought it was just a way of her processing what she went through, and they felt like it wasn't really like a well-developed book. They felt it was just like word vomit of her just like having to release what she had to release through years of therapy, which I think is fair enough. This isn't for everyone, but I think, I don't know, I disagree because I really enjoyed it. People also thought the cover of the book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, with her holding the urn, would be like more of like a comedic retelling of her life story. However, I think people went in with that mindset, and when they read it, they were just like, what the fuck? And it was very dark, and it was just really heavy, and people did not enjoy it, which I think is fair. Like, you have to be in a mood to read certain books, and I think the cover is very comedic, and the content isn't, and I understand why she did that, but I also recognize not everyone is aware of that, which is totally fine. Good reviews are people thought she wrote really well. In the book, she kind of hints that she always wanted to explore writing, and she did a great job. Lots of people who were Nickelodeon fans were very shocked by what she shared, but also people who didn't grow up watching Nickelodeon still thought this book was amazing. They love her story, and they really admire her being so honest and candid about everything she went through. Not just like the things that happened to her externally, which are like so messed up, but also like her internal dialogue and her being so honest about her positive dialogue, her negative dialogue. It's a great book. I think you should read this book if you grew up watching Nickelodeon, if you knew iCarly and the show Cat and Sam. But even if you're someone like me who didn't, I think it's worth reading. I think it's always really good to be aware of, I guess, like, because like she was a star. Like, I got to deep dive watching like YouTube clips of her when she was younger, when this book was like set, and like it just goes to show you never know what goes behind closed doors. Like, she looks so happy on the show and so like positive in interviews and performances, but she wasn't. She was really struggling. So I feel this book is good if you want to open your perspective about what other people are going through. Now I'll share how this book made me feel, because I always ask someone if they recommend a book to me, how it made them feel. Because for me, in a week, a year, 5 years from now, I probably won't remember exactly what happened in this book, but I'll also remember how this book made me feel. So this book, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette Mccurdy, it made me feel upset. Like for her, for children who grow up and just have the childhood that they deserve to have taken from them. Like, I feel like once you become an adult, like life doesn't always get easier. But as a child, you have this like golden era where you have that innocent about you. And I'm really sad that was taken away from Jennette so early. And I know that the reality in the world, especially in other countries, but also in like my country in Canada, obviously, there's so many children out there who don't have a great childhood, and it's really hard for me to read and hard to accept that it's reality. Thanks for watching until the end of my review for I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette Mccurdy. If you read this book, I'd love to hear what you thought down below, because I just couldn't get enough of this book. If you want to join me next time, full circle here. As I said, I read Claire in the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro recently, and I loved it. So I had to pick up his other book, which is a winner, or one of the reasons that he won a Nobel Prize in Literature. I'm reading Kazuo Ishiguro's other book called Never Let Me Go, which I believe is also a movie adaptation, so I'll definitely do a book review and then movie review. Yeah, I'm really excited. If you want to join me next time, I'll see you then. Bye!